Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuhu. My dear viewers, I once again welcome you to our series, The Forum. We have our brothers from the Ombudsman. On my right, we have Mr. Jumake Kamara, who is the Director of Communications in the Ombudsman. On my far right is Mr. Per Simon Seka. Per Simon Seka is the Director of Investigations in the Ombudsman of the Gambia. I welcome you all to the forum once again. It's good to have you.
Thank you.
Yeah. To jump on the series today, I will start with Mr. Kamara. In the last episode, we've discussed briefly about how salary can cause grievance in various offices. Can you please still give us an overview about how salary can cause grievance in any company or in any institution of the country?
All right, thank you very much. The issue of salary, in fact, is one of the most important areas that can give rise to complaints. People work because they want money. Yeah? Of course, there are other reasons why people work, but even if they want to provide service for other reasons, they wouldn't want to provide service if they themselves are struggling, if they themselves are not comfortable. And that is why service provision goes with payment for service rendered. So if you look back in Ombudsman's work and investigation, you look at the trend, sometimes issues relating to salary or allowances form the majority or the bulk of complaints that we receive. So it is important you have asked this question again and so people understand it. What issues give rise to complaints in connection with salary? When a person is employed, he is employed, and the last time we have started, I think we've talked about, was it Mr. Ba or you, Ibrahim, the appointment process. You see, when people are appointed, it is important that some of the basic information that are relevant to the post or to their employment are captured in the appointment letter. But I can tell you, you have people who are appointed without appointment letters. That means that they do not even know how much salary they're going to receive. Because it is your appointment letter that spells out some basic information about your salary, or your basic salary, your grade, your starting point. So if you have employees or employers who are not even telling their employee or employees what their take home will be, how much salary they will receive, that in itself constitutes an act of maladministration. Good administrative practice requires that, and this is the work of the Ombudsman. It's not only about complaints that we're talking about. We are talking about issues relevant to or in connection with salaries that has components of maladministration. Because that's what the Ombudsman investigates. Whether it gives rise to complaint or not. But there are issues that people must understand that they fall in the area of maladministration. So not doing that constitutes an act of maladministration. Not telling people how much their salaries or not giving them a letter, to convey to them, some basic information about payment and other related issues, responsibilities. It constitute an act of maladministration. Now, look at this. If you do not know how much, if an employer does not tell an employee how much his salary should be, one, in my view, that institution has withheld information that is the entitlement or the right of the employee. Also, the institution is not acting in conformity with a very important pillar of good administration or good governance. That's transparency. Transparency will require, of course, in this context, that that information is available on them. You know, it's clearly stated, it's known. I mean, it's not hidden from the parties. But also, it is not fair. It is not fair in the sense that you are appointing somebody who has is going to offer services, and he is clear about it. You two are clear about that, but he's not clear about how much he's going to receive. So it's not fair. So because there are various elements in it that shows how maladministration is embedded in just your refusal to relay that information. Also, you are not able to manage the expectation of the employee. Maybe he thinks that, okay, this post is going to, maybe he's going home with 10K, only for him to receive 5K. Oh, actually, it is 10K. He does not know that. But the 5K you have provided or you have given, he believes that that is what he needs to get. You have also, by keeping the information away from him, you have created a scenario where he is now prone to denial of his entitlement. All of these elements are elements of maladministration because the safeguards are not in place. Because the contract is can you say contract process is incomplete. And the fact that you have withheld this information from him, whatever he receives, he will think that is, so you have subject him to some level of ignorance, which in itself is not good administration. So when it comes to the information itself, it's an act from making it clear, not making it clear, providing, not providing it. It's an area of maladministration relating to salary. Now, the payment of salary, it is the right of an employee that he is paid. Usually, this affects mainly new employees. Sometimes people are employed or appointed, and for months, they have still not received their salaries. For months. And when they complain, or when there is an investigation or looking into the matter, or okay, no, there is this letter needs clearance at that level. No, we're doing the documentation process is not complete. Somebody needs to sign somewhere. In fact, there, the bank details, blah blah. There are some very irrelevant excuses. Yet this person is providing service. So non-payment of salary is an area that also gives rise to complaints, but also is an area that highlights an act of maladministration that happens. But also, it's not only new employees, but you can also be an employee of an institution. Maybe you benefited from promotion, change of status, but it's the same old salary that you have been receiving. Maybe still, maybe it's an account department's process, or that is slow, or they have not finished working on. So they still find time to say, okay, that certain things have not yet happened. That is why you have still not received the increment that you envisaged in your salary, or there is late payment of salary. You're paying somebody after 5 days into the new month, the following month, 10 days into the following month, and they have, and they have rendered the service in the previous month. Late payment of salary is also another area when it comes to looking at an act of maladministration relating to salary. So at various levels of the salary or payment process, we do have maybe people underpayment, non-payment, late payment, and also, for example, maybe withholding, but we will come to that, withholding the salary or stoppage of salary relating to disciplinary measures. But these are constantly issues that come up in the work of the Ombudsman, and people expressing grievances, and Ombudsman looking into the issues to resolve them.
Yeah. Before I come to Mr. Seka, Mr. Kamara, you've talked extensively about how salaries can cause grievance. Salaries and allowance could be similar, but they are different. Yeah. Can you please shed some light on how allowances can cause grievance?
Okay. When we say here allowances, okay, for us, in the context of receiving, let's say, take home, allowance is embedded in it. But the issues of allowances, there are two forms. When you are appointed, there are certain allowances that you receive, and they're automatic. Because you are appointed in a certain category or grade of, you will be entitled to certain allowances automatically. But in the area of allowances, when I say automatically, for example, you will either be paid automatic from the day you are appointed. You will either be entitled to a car allowance or a transport allowance. Car allowance in the sense that you have already indicated that you own a vehicle that you will be using going and coming to work, that means that you have to be paid for that. Car allowance. Transport allowance. You are a member of staff and you are going to work, there is allowance that you receive, which is called transport allowance. So you can see and you will receive responsibility allowance. So all of these various allowances, there have been a number of complaints relating to all of these things, responsibility allowance. So what happens when we are talking about allowances and how they give? Somebody is entitled to some form of allowance and it is not included in his payment. It's not. He's entitled, but he does not receive. But also there are other aspects of allowances. And there are those things that will happen or you will receive because of certain things that happen, but they are temporal. They are not permanently part of your pay. Okay, let's have an example. For example, you have a board, somebody who is a member of board. Because he's a member of a board, he will have board allowance or sitting allowance, right? But if he is not, he definitely would not. So you will see maybe somebody can complain. That is, if you have a board sitting or you're entitled to some board allowances and it's not given to you, then of course the person will feel aggrieved. And let's assume, okay, the area of traveling. You are going to go outside of the Gambia or within the Gambia. There are allowances relating to that. We do receive, for example, complaints relating to per diem. And the person who travels to Senegal or to US or any other country, for the nights that he spends, he is paid a certain amount. And even that amount too, if you are entitled, for example, you are entitled to 200 pounds and you are not paid 200 pounds, of course that will not give rise to complaint. Of course it will give rise to complaint. So this arises only because of the traveling. So, and you find that all of these things will happen. So, and if you are entitled to 5 days per diem or 5 nights, and you are paid 2 nights or 3 nights, will this person not feel aggrieved? He will feel aggrieved. So this allowances come like that. So when you, because you transferred to a certain part of the country, you will have a provincial allowance. And even that transfer process itself, you have a relocation allowance. to help you with your movement. Then you have been hearing this other aspect of allowance from the teachers, hardship allowance. Because you are in this region, or you are in this other region, you are in this, so you are entitled. So there are occasionally things that allowances that people are entitled, but sometimes they are not given those entitlements of theirs, those allowances, because it's not something that's automatic. Usually, where it's automatic and initially it is inbuilt in the allowance structure of your salary, that's easy to handle. Complaints may not come relating to those allowances, but those allowances that will happen, and even those ones that are automatic. When I say transport allowance, for example, there was a time there was an increment of allowance, right? From 500 transport allowance from 500 to 1,000. So you find some people say no, for us, since the announcement of the increment, are still receiving the same allowance. No, they have, from our office, they have still not given us the new, and we heard that the president has announced that there's increment of transport allowance, and they have still. So you can see people, anytime announcements like that or changes like that happen, these times, what you notice is that institutions are not usually very quick in ensuring that people have these things that they are entitled, or processing them at the time that they are entitled, or denying them when they are entitled to, because there was an event, or there was a scenario, or there was a situation that will warrant somebody is paid an allowance. That is why occasionally, actually all the time, in fact, we do receive this kind of issues. I'm entitled to a car allowance, I own a car, and they have not given me. But all of these things also can happen in the other way. I mean, for example, you have a car, you claim to have a car, and you are not using a car, and then they stop your car allowance, and you express your dissatisfaction. So it's not all the time. I don't want to sound like this is always employees who are employers who are not doing the right thing. But sometimes employees too are not doing the right thing. And relating to these allowances, when they are not even entitled, they believe they are entitled, or claim that they are entitled when they are not entitled. So these grievances do arise. Complaints do have emanate grievances within institutions relating to allowances. To give some examples, these are some of the areas that we have received complaints, or potentially, of course, complaints can come up as a result of differences of views, or views in the sense that I think I am entitled, or no, you are not entitled, and it's the Ombudsman that is the place to help you settle your dispute in relation to that.
Thank you, Mr. Kamara. I think our viewers will have like a deep understanding about how salaries and allowances can cause like grievances. Mr. Seka, coming to you, as the Director of Investigations, can you tell us what your office is composed of?
Okay, one of the core functions of the Ombudsman is investigation and giving remedies to aggrieved persons. And therefore the Ombudsman gives the citizen the opportunity to test the legality of administrative decisions. So, and in order to achieve that, you need competent staff to do the work. So in that sense, the staff that I have is composed of the principal investigator, and then you have the senior investigators and investigators. So once we have assessed a complaint and the Ombudsman has given approval for investigation, so when the matter comes to me, I will look at the complex nature of the case, how complex it is, and who is to handle what. So you'll find out that the most complex cases are handled by myself or the principal investigators. Sometimes we can mix as a team, and we work and then investigate and come up with a recommendation. In that recommendation is a preliminary recommendation, because if you go to the Act, it's the Ombudsman and deputies that have the final decision making with regards to a case that we have investigated. And once we have made that preliminary recommendations and the Ombudsman is satisfied with the investigation that we have made, they will go ahead to make a decision. And in that decision making, is either the three of them unanimously agree to the decision, or is 2:1. Two of an Ombudsman and deputy agreed on the matter, and that decision stands. So this is the composition of the staff of the Ombudsman.
Okay. Mr. Seka, how is an investigator appointed?
Yeah, normally the appointment is very transparent. What we normally do is we advertise and also set a criteria, for example, qualifications. And in most cases, what we look for is somebody with a bachelor's degree in any social science. Sometimes we also have, let's say, law, or if you have paralegal training, it's also an advantage, because of the work that we are doing have some legal implications, but in a very informal way, not formal as rigid as the court is. But we deal with, for example, evidence. So the evidence that you are looking into, it has to come from a reliable source. So you, as an investigator, you should know whether this document is reliable or it's not reliable before you act on it. So these are some of the things that, at least before appointing, we look at those qualifications. So once we have done that, we interview, shortlist and interview. And in the interview process also, we invite the Personal Management Office, because the Ombudsman and deputies, they can appoint their own staff according to the Ombudsman Act. But to ensure that there is transparency, we invite the Personal Management Office to show that, okay, we have the due process has been followed and the right person has been appointed. Because sometimes you can appoint somebody and he can come and say, okay, the appointment process is not fair, or this thing. Because we do even have some type of complaints of such nature that, okay, how the interview was conducted was not fair or whatever, and they have lot those type of complaints, and we have to look into it, and then we give our decision on that matter or recommendation on those issues. So I would just say the appointment at the Ombudsman is very transparent, and we ensure that the person, we during the interview, we make scores, and the person who emerged first will be given an offer, and he has to, within 14 days, reply to the Ombudsman to say whether he has accepted the offer or not. So once he has accepted the offer, he'll be given a probationary period of 6 months. And once he has served that 6 months and his performance is satisfactory, then he is confirmed. So in the event he's given the offer and he rejects the offer, then the person who comes second is given the opportunity to come in. Okay, that's how the appointment process takes place at the Office of the Ombudsman.
That is absolutely clear, Mr. Seka. Before I come back to Mr. Kamara, still with Mr. Seka, what are some of the successes that you have registered? Yeah,
I would say the Ombudsman Office, most of the cases, 60 to 70% of our cases are completed, and also with most of the officers, because one thing is we use our persuasive skills to ensure that our recommendations are complied with. But I would say you will have also few recalcitrant officers, which I always say we will make follow up to persuade them. Once we have persuaded them and they still refuse and they could not convince the Ombudsman why they have failed to implement the recommendations, then the Ombudsman has the right to make an order. And that order has the same force as a high court order, and will give an ultimatum for him to implement the recommendations. Failing which, if he's still adamant and fail to do this, we refer the matter to His Excellency the President, and whatever decision that he gives, that's final, as far as this investigation is concerned. But in most cases, you will find out that at least 70 to 60% of the cases are completed. Only you have few pending cases at the end of the year, and we always ensure that we report that to the National Assembly, and in most also time they are satisfactory. They are satisfied with what we are doing.
That's right.
Okay.
And that is definitely a success if it is 72 or 40%. Coming back to Mr. Kamara, the communications guy, like mandate and time of reference, if not like handled like properly, the way it is supposed to be handled, can this like give rise to like maladministration?
Yeah, thank you. The one most important component or dimension of good administration is that you do your work. Your work. That means you also stay away from what is not your work, right?
That's true.
So if what is your job to do and you fail to do it, then people have a good cause to go to the Ombudsman to say you have not done your work. So let us look at this from two aspects. The mandate of an institution. Ombudsman, since we started this series, we have only been talking about our mandate, right? And whatever we say to expound, we say it within the context of our mandate. I think it was the last program you did say that if you stay out of, if you do anything that is not within our mandate, then people have every right to even take us to court, right? But what it says clearly, it means we are doing or committing an act of maladministration. So this is a very important area that we must always look at. What is the work of the police? What is the work of Ombudsman? What is the work of immigration, the Gambia Immigration Department? What is the work of the of MOPSI, right? The prison departments. All of these institutions, they all have their mandates. If today, per Director of Investigation, he talked to his men, the investigators, and said, today, please, let's go to Westfield, we are going to mount a checkpoint. I mean, mount a checkpoint, Ombudsman are mounting a checkpoint at the... You think that's normal to do? No. Why? Because good administration requires that you do what is your mandate to do. When I am sick, I will not go to the police.
Or call your lawyer.
Or call my lawyer. I will go to the health center. Sure. If I go to the police, or I go to the Ombudsman, or to the veterinary service, right? And he injects me, what do you think is going to happen? If there's like something happens to me. But if I go to the health center and they handle me within the framework of their work, then it's normal, right? Sure. Nothing's going to happen. But the veterinary service guy, who is supposed to handle the animals, right? And he handles me. Yeah. And that is not his job. He has caused a problem for himself because he has gone out of the mandate of the veterinary services. So this is just general. That any time an institution handles a matter that they are not supposed to handle, what they have committed or what they have done is that they have committed an act of maladministration. The Ombudsman can look into that matter proactively, or the citizens or the people can report them to the Ombudsman for having involved themselves in a matter that they are not established in the first place to handle. Good administration requires that there is expression of mandate or responsibilities broadly. That is why we have various institutions to do various things. Even let's assume, for example, even the police, there is a problem between two people, they have to know whether this problem is even civil or criminal, right? If a police handles civil matter, and so what's going to happen? They have put themselves in a position where they are subject to criticism, or even if they are not criticized, there can be consequences for doing that. Why? Because they have not strictly observed their terms of reference. So it's like doing and omission. These are all issues that can raise. You are supposed to do that, you have not done that. You are not supposed to do this, or you have done something, but you are not supposed to do that. All of these things are parameters of ways in which you can establish if an act of maladministration has happened or has not happened. So this, if you do not do what you are supposed to do, you have committed an act of maladministration. Then the terms of reference. Within the institution itself, you will have accounts, right? You will have procurement. You will have communication. Here, me and Perry are not the same unit, right? That's true. I mean communication. Perry is in investigation. And there is also procurement. Then you have human rights. You have admin. It is not my duty to go and work out what Ombudsman procures in a year. So if I go into procurement, one, I have done what I am not supposed to do. So that tells me something. That tells you something. And if you do what is not your job, that is not with you. Is it term of reference? Is your guidance. Is your Quran or is your Bible. You're supposed to look at that and say, oh, okay. Do you understand? So you're avoiding this, you're not doing this. If you are going into other people's TOR is your time of reference, but your time of reference is your area of responsibility. So you are not doing your responsibility if you do other people's TOR. And sometimes administrators, and you see, the issues are linked. When we appoint people and we just appoint them verbally, you are appointed. So it means that TR is what? They have any TR. So it means that they can misuse them. They can abuse them. And eventually, at some point, those people can be up for some problems. Even this phrase, I don't like it. I know it's widely used. And any other task assigned. That's okay, because sometimes broadly under your TOR, it's not everything that's spelled, of course, because it's broad. You will not tell Juma, create awareness, go to radio, go to DC, go to television, go to newspaper, go to standard. That's not going to be in my TOR, definitely. But creation of awareness, you know it. There are several ways in which I can create awareness, for example. So, other than that kind of meaning or intention for any other task assigned, this employer can create a problem for the employee, and the employee too can have a problem in the future, which even the employer may not come to defend. We have watched the, how do you call it, Jana Commission, right? Where some people ask, are you supposed to do that? Is that supposed to be part of your, you must have, I think you must, I watched it myself. Are you supposed to, is that part of your job? He said, but they have asked me to do it. They have asked me to do it. It's not enough justification. You are supposed to challenge your employer. That is why good standards exist, so that we ensure that good standards are practiced. Good standards exist, so that when there is a violation of those good standards or best practice, when we can point at them and say, okay, how about that? So that we, one, create dialogue, understanding around some issues, so that our employers, initially I said here on this program that the mistakes that, acts of maladministration that usually people report, they are done sometimes deliberately, but sometimes they are done inadvertently, through mistakes. Sometimes employers think they know what they are doing. I mean, they think what they are doing is right. Just like employees. Sometimes they think what they are doing is right, and it's not right. Sometimes employers too, they do think what they are doing is right, and it's not right. It is only when you subject it to scrutiny and discussion, and then you look at it, and then you look at the underlying issues and the implications, they begin to say, oh. So that's why I'm saying that anytime there is not a clear cut, parents cannot have the same responsibility as me. No, it's not. That's bad administrative practice. If I am responsible for this and I'm communication, parents also responsible for the same thing and it's the investigation, then that's bad administrative practice.
That's true.
There can be similarities but not duplication. I mean, some form of similarity sometimes in certain aspects, but not duplication. So we can't have the same responsibilities. We only have different responsibilities. So when we do not observe our TORs, when we go beyond our TORs, or when we fail, and it's our TORs that also our employers hold us to account. To say you have failed to do your job, or you have not failed to do your job, or you are entitled to some form of promotion, or you are not entitled to some form of promotion. And usually Per is here. A person is doing his job according to his TOR, and the employer thinks that he has not performed. Or there is a statement somewhere and he says, oh, this person his performance has been found wanting. But in what sense? You look at his TOR, there is no evidence ever, maybe a query in his file that you are underperforming. Because they need a measure of your performance. How do you have that measure of your performance without TOR? You don't have it. You cannot have it. I mean, so it means that what is happening is like you are doing it just haphazardly or arbitrarily or selectively promoting, demoting, saying, oh, I think you are doing a good job. No, you are not doing a good job. On what basis? So that is why anytime we do not, one, create the TORs, separate them. If you don't have them, that's an out of maladministration, if you don't have them. If we have them, and they are the same for the different units, is bad administration. If we have them, and we are not using them as a measure for the performance of our people who are working under us, then there is no fairness. So there are various issues of acts of maladministration that we can glean from these issues of mandates of institutions and TORs for employees. And sometimes the complaints we register, they are in connection with these issues. Sometimes they are not, but this program is also meant to educate, to let people understand, to adopt best administrative practices. Our objective is not just that people have a complaint, come to the Ombudsman, but our objective is also that we raise very important issues for employers and for employees so that they, adopt best administrative practice, because that is what will take us forward.
That's true. Back to Mr. Seka, we only have a few minutes remaining, by the way. The program is very interesting. Mr. Seka, like due to the nature of your office, you must have like some challenges like during your investigations. So can you give us like some highlights of some of the things that you face, and like how do you solve those problems like during your investigations?
Yeah, sometimes we do face problems. You will go to an institution and you will find some officers who are not well with the roles and functions of the Ombudsman, and they will try to obstruct. And if you go by the act, obstructing the staff of the Ombudsman whilst doing his job, executing his duty, is an offense. I will tell you one good example. There was an institution. This man, anytime that my investigation goes there, he used to give them problems. But when he was dismissed, he came back to the office of the Ombudsman. You see, for me, I just remind him that, you see, the Ombudsman is for all of us. Because of you never knew that you will one day have a problem and you come back.
Exactly.
But for us, we know that we are here to serve the public. We didn't have that grievance. We handled his case and we investigate and we realized that he was unfairly treated and we made a recommendations to the commission for them to review because of, as the accountant, there was an audit report. He was supposed to be given the opportunity to answer to the queries. But before that, he was suspended, and before he could realize, he was dismissed. So due procedure was not followed. And we were able to look into the matter and look into it and give a redress. Another thing also that I want to add on is, you know, Ombudsman, we have what we call Ombudsman principles. In administration, it's called principle of good administration. And one of the first principles is getting it right. We expect that institutions are governed by policies. And in acting with those policies, just as Duma was talking about TOR, we expect you to act in line with those policies. So if you don't follow the general, the statutory instrument like the GO, Code of Conduct, or the FI, or the statutory, this thing, how to call it, the service rules, and you just went and do things as you want. If somebody lodge a complaint and is aggrieved and come to us, we will look, these are the tools that we are going to look back to see whether you have acted in line with those policies or not. The other one is customer focus. The other second principle is customer focus. You are appointed and you should deal with your, the people who come to seek your service professionally. Here I'm here today. You are dealing with me professionally because you are interviewing me and all those things. That means that when I come to your district, you have the attention and the program is going on as expected. But you cannot go to some institutions, come to seek service, you are say, okay, wait, let me go and have breakfast. Or you will delay it, and the person will be sitting there for hours. That's maladministration. The other one also, you should be open and accountable. When somebody comes and he doesn't understand, be patient, explain to him what the term of reference of the office, what it's all about, and even if you can't help him, we have to seek redress. You can't tell him, okay, this is not the right place, but you can go to that place, and you will have this thing. The other one is being fair and proportionate in your decision making. We are expecting that in any matter that you are handling, you should not have an interest, you should have an open mind. When even you have quarrel with somebody, when he comes to seek that service, you should not be biased because of you have that and you want to punish him because of that. No, you are there to serve the general public. Your difference should be set aside, and the service that he has come to seek, make sure he has this thing. The other one is putting things right, because as administrators, we are bound to make mistakes. And once you have made a mistake and you look into it, swallow your pride and accept and rectify the mistake the error or the mistake that has been done. And the final one is innovation, seeking continuous improvement. In every work that you are doing, you have to seek continuous improvement to make sure that at least find new ways of doing things as far as your work is. These are the yardsticks that the Ombudsman uses. It's not like, let's say, for example, very strict, but these are the yardsticks that we use in terms when we are doing our investigation to make sure that at least we arrive at a judicious decision. Just as you have said, the Ombudsman institution is there for us. What I always say is, if you are giving us, my staff, tough time, know that one day also you may fall victim because of nobody knows tomorrow. Just as I was explaining about this thing, how to call this officer. And one thing that I'm lucky, Mr. Kamara can bear me. We even have known some people who are very powerful in the former regime and all those things. And they come and seek redress of the office of the Ombudsman, and we were able to look into their matter and offer redress. So the Ombudsman institution is here for everybody. So for me, I believe that anyone, when we knock your door or you this thing, don't allow us even to use our powers. Let's have that understanding that what we are doing in the best interest of the nation. We are not here to witch hunt or to find fault for anybody's job, but we are here to make sure that there is justice. Thank you very much.
That's right. That is extensively clear. Thank you once again, Mr. Seka, and thank you, Mr. Kamara. Dear viewers, this brings us to the end of the, this episode of the forum. Till we meet again, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.